I applied for this job because I wanted to cut loose and shake my rump.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
I want to make it clear that the views expressed by our hosts are not considered the official stance of MBR Views. Remember, this is all about having fun and enjoying the ride.
Turnbuckles and Stogies.
Yo, what is up? What is up? What is up, people? Happy Sunday night. Welcome to another broadcast of Turnbuckles and Stogies podcast. We are live here in the Big Dog, aka Boss Dog Studios, along with my co-host, the Vanilla Garrila. We are live, and we are just getting started right now. So let's get kicking.
Yes, sir. We are here live. Just us tonight. We're minus a co-host. That's okay. He was busy. No worries. We roll with the punches because that's what we're good at. But what we are, well, what I'm finishing up and what he's smoking tonight is the SP 1014 Black 7x54 by Sanj Patel. And then after that, after this is over, I would be lighting up a Nicaroma Maduro Robusto.
So here's, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to call in right now, you can dial 1.
Actually, I don't know if the phone is ready yet. I don't know if they got the phone tonight.
You can dial 720-619-0627. Call in, ask questions, whatever you want to do. So what are we going to start with tonight? Oh, you know what? Let's talk about this Giants-Jets game. And, you know, I'm a little upset.
I didn't watch it. I was working, so.
I watched the Giants-Jets game, and I think the kicker, Gano, should be fired. How do you miss 3 field goals in 2 weeks in your own stadium?
I have no idea. I mean, he's been pretty lights out all year, so it's very surprising that he's missed them that many times. But, you know, who knows? So, like I said, I didn't watch this week because I was working. So what do we? So let's talk about my buddy Sanj. Sanj Patel been around for, I don't know, 30 plus years. Great cigar, great smoke, great building. And if you want to know more about Sanj and his cigars and his venture into the business, you can check out episode 4 with Turnbuckles and Stogies, because Sanj was our special guest. We smoked the SP 1014 Reds. I mean, that's the best way to learn more about Sanj and his cigars, his ventures into the business, new projects coming out. He's got a bunch of things in the works. You know, we also have a bunch of things in the works ourselves. We will be filming live from a brewery in New Jersey as soon as we set up the date. And then at November 17th, I will be in New Jersey for ISPW. I'll be there. I'll be hanging out. Come see me. Come say hello. I'll be there just chilling for the day.
So
I am the official booker, and I'm putting this out there all over the internet. I am the official booker for Alofa Anawahi, which is a former ECW, WWE, independent Samoan SWAT team. He's one half of the Samoan SWAT team of all over the wrestling world, the Anawahi family, which I'm the booker. So if you want to book him, please hit me up on my DMs.
Now,
D Cigars, or you can hit me up on Boss Dog Cigars, Instagram. So let's do that. And if you want to book him, Steel City Wrestling, Steel City Comic Con, whatever you call it, send me a DM. I've sent you DMs several times. So let's get into it.
Now, what I will, since you brought up the Samoan SWAT team, it's actually pretty funny you bring that up, because the new Samoan SWAT team in MLW, which is Lance Anawa'i and Juicy Finau, actually just got granted their release as requested. So they're no longer part of MLW. Alexander Hammerstone, who was the former champ, open weight, national weight, heavyweight champion. I mean, the guy's pretty much held everything MLW has. He just asked for his release, even though he's on extension till 2024, I believe they said. So he's got another year or 2 years left. So he's actually getting ready to get his release. So, I mean, there's a lot that's been going on. MJF wrestled Kenny Omega last night, and after the stuff went off the air, after showing off the air, he actually cut a promo and said, wrestling guys like Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson and Castagnoli and all those guys and Samoa Joe makes it hard for him to say no and not, makes it hard for him to say no to not re-sign with AEW.
So I see in the comments we have Audrey McHugh says, what am I smoking? I am smoking an SP1014 by Sanj Patel out of Bloomfield, New Jersey.
I'm actually finishing that up myself.
Sanj's shop is one of the longest reigning shops that I've been to that is MSRP
since 1992.
So you can go there and buy a cigar for that cost you $20 in New York. It's only going to cost you $10 there. So you can go there, or you can go online to shouldismokethis.com.
Absolutely.
And then just in the comments, when you send your order, say, hey,
Turnbuckles and Stogies
sent me. And he will take good care of you.
Absolutely.
I was just with him yesterday. Oh my God. Let's talk about yesterday. So I dropped my wife and my daughter off at a Halloween party in Ridgefield. I go to Sanj's shop. I get ready to leave. I get off some exit. I don't know. I was coming home. I go to get off the exit, and all of a sudden I get a blowout. And let me tell you, when I tell you a blowout, I pulled in some kind of complex, and it took me 2.5 hours to change the tire. Now you might say, why? It take me 2.5 hours. Why? Because I have an old scissor jack. You know, the scissor jack that you got to turn up.
The jacks that come with the car.
Yeah. So, that's what it is. It is what it is. So let's get into some sports.
Well, let's actually, there's actually a few more wrestling things I actually want to talk about, because there's been a lot that's gone on lately. And, one of the biggest things is actually, what was it, last night? Yeah, last night was the Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou fight. And actually, you had Mike Tyson there, Vince McMahon and The Undertaker both flew to Saudi Arabia. And they asked Vince about, why did he come to Saudi Arabia? Is it their home? And he said this is now the WWE's home.
Whoa.
And now this isn't their full home, but
What do you mean?
This is
Vince has nothing to do with the company.
This is their overseas project. Vince is the one that set this up, brokered the deal, got it done. The Super Showdown actually should be happening, I believe, within the next week or so. And I want to say the main event, if I'm correct, because I haven't even looked at the card yet, is supposed to be LA Knight versus Roman Reigns for the world title, which in my opinion, in my personal opinion, LA Knight has deserved everything he gets. Everything that guy gets right now is everything he deserves, because he is absolutely one of the most over acts or over gimmicks, whatever you want to call it, in the wrestling world today. I shouldn't say that, in WWE, because AEW, the most over person right now is probably MJF without question.
So LA Knight. Yeah. So, I've been in the wrestling world for, Jesus Christ, 25 years. So, shout out to our co-host that can't make it. He's booked doing something else right now. So we are right now, just myself and my son, the Vanilla Garrila. We're hosting the show. And guess what? We're doing very well. So anybody wants to call in,
so
please call in the number. You want to call in, we can answer your questions on live. You want to shoot it up in the comments.
So what I will say is, after all that, there is a whole lot of other controversy in wrestling. I mean, Sting is now going to retire as of March 2024. Ric Flair is now in AEW, riding out the wave of Sting's final run until March. You have Darby Allin by Sting's side.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much that you can talk about. There's so much you can ask. There's so many questions. I think the biggest question right now in AEW itself is,
who's the devil?
Who is the devil, or who are the devils? And there's
So
been speculation that it's been Punk. There's been speculation it's been Jungle Boy. There's been speculation it's been a numerous amount of people. It all depends on, I mean, do I think it's CM Punk? I think so, because anything is possible. Could it be Jungle Boy? Sure. It could be somebody new that's debuting. I mean, we also don't know. There's people that were injured that we have no idea were not injured, or they were pulled off the list. I mean, there's so many different avenues. There's so many different aspects. There's so many different people it could be because of the range that AEW has.
So I think what we're going to do here is we're going to shoot from the hip. Okay? We're going to shoot from the hip right now. So I really watch WWE. I really watch anything that WWE has to put out there because of, I think that WWE has went down the drain.
I wouldn't say down the drain myself. I would say they definitely slacked off because they were pushing a certain amount of guys. And the only difference between that could be Cole, but Cole did actually fracture his ankle. So, I mean, it could be a numerous amount of people. It could be Kyle O'Reilly. It could be Bobby Fish, and it could be Cole. I don't know.
He fractured his anchor.
But as far as the WWE goes, they lost their touch, and then when Triple H got in charge of creative for that little amount of time, He brought it back, and then Vince took back over when Triple H brought it back up. Now Triple H is fully in charge of creative, so I don't foresee – I definitely think he's the best man to have in charge because he knows what he's doing. He brought the company up. You know, there's so many ways that he can take this company, and I think with him at the helm of creative, I think they're going to be in great hands.
So we just got a comment that said from Richard Coop that says it could be Cole. You're right, Coop. It could be Cole. But then again,
it could be
Kyle, CM Punk.
I mean,
it could be Kyle Fish.
Could be Kyle O'Reilly. It could be Bobby Fish. It could be everybody. I mean,
it might even be the boss. It might even be Big Dog.
It could be
you
anybody.
Don't know. I might even come out of retirement for that.
It could be anybody.
So check it out. You know what I mean?
It could be anybody. You know, there's no timetable on who it could be. There's no timetable on anybody's return. I mean, it could be somebody that we don't know about that's been signed. It could, because there's, from what I understand, from what I've read, he's got people signed that have not shown up yet that we don't know about. So it could be any one of those people, and it could be some big names.
You know, and nobody realizes, a lot of people are saying that Tony Khan's going to sell WWE, this and that. Listen, Tony Khan does not have to sell to anybody. Tony Khan is filthy rich. Tony Khan's dad owns Wembley Stadium. His dad owns the soccer league that does Wembley. You know what I mean? So he's not selling to anybody that has to do with
not only that, he's not going to sell because he's still building up the company. I mean, even though it's been 5 years, that company is still growing. It could be, Coop, you're absolutely right. It could be Ziggler. I mean, there's so many things. You could say it could be Matt Riddle. I mean, there's so many.
Wait.
There's so many answers.
Matt Riddle?
There's so many answers that it could be.
Did you say
because
Matt
there's
Riddle?
so many people released? Yes, I did.
Is that the Joker, the Riddler?
It could be Riddler. It could be Matt Riddle. It could be the original Bro. I mean, I know that he has some other things. I know he's getting ready to have a kid because he just announced it the other day. I mean, there's so many different avenues. Again, there's so many people that it could be. We don't actually know. We don't know. We won't know until they unmask the devil, and that could happen at one of the pay. It could happen at Full Gear. It could happen, at All Out. It could happen at All In. I mean, we don't know how long they're going to drag this out.
So
now there are rumors of Ziggler going there, and there's rumors of him going there and teaming with his brother and putting them together. Absolutely. There's also been rumors for the last, I would say, 4 or 5 days that Big Show is going to come back on TV and team with Jericho, and they're going to go after the Don Callis family because he filed a trademark for Jericho last year when he showed up to AEW. So, I mean, there's so many different, I mean, it could be somebody totally different. We don't know.
Not the Big Show. The Big Show's going to come back out of retirement.
He's not actually retired. He does a lot of commentary work and behind the scenes work.
The Big Show? Is he going to come out of retirement?
But he's not actually retired.
He's not actually retired.
He was never fully retired.
He hasn't been on a wrestling. I have not seen a Big Show wrestle since he was in the WWE.
No, he wrestled for AEW quite a few times over the last couple of years.
So, on that note, we're going to pay some bills that keeps us going and say hello to our promoter and our producer, H. So, H, let's ring that bell.
Hey, this is Michelle from Park Lane Tobacconist. Come on down for a great selection of pipe tobaccos, cigars, accessories, you name it. Come on down and check us out. I want to thank Turbuvkles and Stogies for promoting us on their program, and back to them at MBR Radio.
Yeah, work in a few hours. What is up, everybody? We are back from our short commercial break. So now I'm going to show you guys what I just lit up, because I just lit up the Nika Aroma Maduro. And I picked that. I didn't pick it up yesterday because I wasn't there, but he picked it up for me last night at Sanja's place while I was at work. But it's made by Villager Cigars. Right now on shouldismokethis.com, there's a deal for 3 boxes and get the 4th box free for $140. You get a Connecticut Habano Maduro. And I mean, I've smoked all 3 and I've enjoyed the first 2. This one caught me by surprise when I just lit it up, because I got like a big espresso note off of the first light up. And as you can see, I'm using my new lighter, well, our new lighter that's sponsoring the podcast. So we appreciate you guys. The name of the lighter is the Joban Smoking Set. But if you need the real name, which I don't have in front of me, send me a DM on the Instagram, Turbuvkles and Stogies Pod, and I will get you the name so that you can pick it up from Amazon. But big shout out to those guys for hooking us up and taking care of us.
Wait, so not only did he get a free lighter, you got a humidor.
I did.
And that's by who?
Now, I did get a humidor. I did get a nice new electric humidor from King Chi. They sent me the humidor to try out. And so far, I've got it. I've got cigars in it. I'm loving it. I used it. I had it sitting for a couple of days, but what's beautiful about that is you season it. You wipe the shelves down, wipe the plastic down. You set it. I have mine set at 65-ish because that's where I like my cigars to sit. And, I mean, it's working flawlessly. I set it at 65, and it's been at 65 for probably almost a week now. And I just put cigars in it yesterday. So big shout out to those guys. Those guys are awesome. They take care of me.
Everybody wants to know who we're going to have on our podcast. Because I keep getting DMs, I keep getting text messages, and they're always like, nobody's come on your live. First of all, I want to shout out to Sanj. He was the number 1 guy that came on as our first cigar, guy. Now, number 2, we're going to have Keith from Kikimomo. And then we're going to have Deirdre on, who just signed a Hollywood. And when I say Hollywood, she just signed a Hollywood deal about her story on how she became from nothing to something. So she's going to be on our podcast.
And when she comes on, I will say her cigars are phenomenal. We hooked up with her last year.
Yes.
And she actually gave us a couple of cigars to try. And I don't know if it's on my Instagram. I don't know where it is, but I did do a live review of me smoking it. It was myself. It was my dad. We had Espinal Puro jump on and be a special guest. I had quite a few
Coco.
guests. Coco jumped on. But, to hear Dietrich's story is great. And we're going to get into that when we have her on because she's got a very interesting backstory. And that would be something interesting for you guys to hear.
I mean,
so
we've been there. We've done that.
I think we're going to leave that story for when we get her on because I want her to tell you guys a story. It's even still, we've heard it, I think once or twice or three times, just through talking to her.
Twice, 3 times a lady.
And, her story is still just as interesting because it's crazy to hear that. But we got Kiki Momo's stuff coming in tomorrow. So we're going to schedule a date with Keith to have Keith on the podcast. Kiki Momo Cigars, great guy.
So also, we have my brother from New Orleans, my man, Divergence Bourbon.
Yes, sir.
He sent this stuff out to us. We're just waiting on it to get here. So shout out, and I'm an ambassador for him. Divergencebourbon.com. If you need bourbon, you order from him. Tell him Boss Dog sent you. And the way it works is if you order something, whatever you order is your order. No one else can make that order besides you. So that's the way that works. So now, let's get into some wrestling.
I mean, there's so much to talk about. It depends on what you're looking for. I mean, you have a lot of stuff going on right now in both companies. Both companies are doing a hell of a job. Impact just went back to, as of January, Impact Wrestling is no more. It is now back to TNA Wrestling.
Is that tits and ass?
Total nonstop action. What they have been since 2003 or 2004. The only thing they won't be going back to is the 6-sided ring because that does take a toll on your body. I mean, even a regular 4-sided squared ring takes a toll on your body. I can tell you from experience.
I've been in a 4-sided ring, and to do a 6-sided ring,
it's a lot. It's a lot
of work because you know what?
The ring is a lot stiffer.
The ring is like an octagon, okay? And if I throw you in the rope this way and I go to bounce off, you're going to mess up because it's just the way the ring works. So guess what? I'd rather go back to a 4-sided ring.
So we have a question. So I'm going to touch on that because I do pay quite a bit more attention to NXT than he does. I think it's great for the exposure for NXT. I think it's elevating NXT back to what they used to be. Because if you think about it, when NXT started, they had main roster guys come down. Randy Orton was on NXT. John Cena went down in 2013. I mean, Bray Wyatt went back down after he came up. There's so many different aspects of it, but I think personally it's the notoriety that it brings to NXT. It brings more competition, and you get to see, in my opinion, which guys can hang on the main roster. And you can, by the opponents they're giving these guys, like AJ Styles showed up and fought Grayson Waller. And look where Grayson Waller is now. He's up on the main roster. He's got his own talk show. and the kid can wrestle. So sending guys back down there isn't bad. I think it's great. And a lot of guys want to do it personally because a lot of them haven't held all of those titles. Like Becky never held the NXT women's title.
She did now.
So for her to go back down, that was her way of completing the 4 horsewomen of NXT to complete everything, because now Becky has won every major women's title that WWE has to offer. From the SmackDown to the Raw to the women's tag champs to NXT tag champs to NXT women's champs. So she doesn't have anything really left to do. Charlotte's been back down there. So I think it's a great thing. Now, the one person I'm waiting for, but he just showed up on TV last Wednesday, and that was, he changed his name. He now goes by Lexis King, but everybody else knows him as Brian Pillman Jr. I think that's great for NXT because, you know, it gives him a chance to become who he wants to be. And, you know, if you look at his character, his character now is loosely based on his father.
So here's what I've been looking at. And Jordan Grace.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Jordan Grace. Not that she was heavy, but Jordan Grace, when she first started with TNA, she had a lot of meat on her.
She was thick. That was her nickname. Thick
Now,
Mama Pump.
Now, if you look at Jordan Grace, she goes like this.
And that's also...
And she has, like, abs. She has...
And that's also because she's training to be... She's competing in bodybuilding. So that's why she cut up the way she did and she dropped all that extra weight the way she did because of the
Who's
fact.
her husband?
Jonathan Gresham. The octopus.
Jonathan Gresham. So
the octopus, who is another probably one of the most technically sound wrestlers I've ever seen.
So, you know, when I look at Jordan Grace 2 years ago and I look at Jordan Grace now, Jordan Grace she's like, when she came out for the
Call Your Shot
Battle stuff,
Royal.
And somebody posted up on Instagram today, she walked out when she first started. She was big, but she was full of thick. Now she walks out. She's got like, she goes like this, and her body is unstoppable. So, listen, I'm going to tell you, Jordan Grace is a woman to look out for, and she's going to do some damage in TNA.
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of aspects now going back to the TNA, because what they're doing is they're now merging and gapping the history from Impact to TNA, because no matter what you did, and I did it too, no matter what they did, they changed it to Impact. They called it all kinds of stuff. Everybody still addressed it as TNA. So to me, I've always called it TNA. I've never strayed from that. I hated calling it Impact because it just didn't make sense. But there's guys there that have been there since day one, like Alex Shelley, like Chris Sabin, like Frankie Kazarian. I mean, there's
How about
so many.
President?
Scott D'Amore has been there since day one. You know, there's so many guys in that locker room and girls that have been there since day one. I mean, Tracy Brooks came back. You know, James Storm went there. Chris Harris both came back. You know, Eric Young is there now. I mean, there's so many guys there that have ran the gauntlet in TNA, that have been there when TNA was down and they brought it back up. You know, there's so many things by going back to that moniker of total nonstop action that they can become that third major brand or that well, I've read a lot of places that now that they went back to TNA, that they have now become the second biggest brand in the world because, and just based on history, at one point there was 3 companies, there was numerous different companies, and TNA and WWE were always right here. This was WWE, TNA was here. Now,
what about WCW?
Well, they weren't around when TNA was incepted in 01 or 02. But there were so many different companies that have come and gone. And if you think about it, WWE has bought WCW, ECW. They've bought companies. The only company they could never buy was TNA. And now AEW. But now you have 3 major. Well, no, you have 4 now, because NWA is now on the rise, and NWA has restarted the territory system. So, that makes it good for...
Shout out to the Smashing Pumpkins.
That makes it good for guys like me who are just starting out in the business. That makes it good for a lot of the guys who have been in this business for so long that are still trying to catch their big break, because the territory system, as we all know, has made stars upon stars. They've made Sting, Ric Flair, Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, Bruno Sammartino, Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express, the Road Warriors, Doom. I mean, you name it, they've all come through the territory system. Dustin Rhodes went through the territories for a little while. Macho Man and his family,
So let me ask you this, son. So do you think that all these territorial systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
All these territorial systems, do you think that these new tag teams coming up right now, and I say the new tag teams, the Now,
well, so in relation to those guys, I've been through I've seen so many teams over the years. So they actually had their big break with NWA over the last couple of years. Their first year in, they wrestled in the Crockett Cup. They wrestled the Briscoes round 1.
Shout out to the Briscoes.
They came back and did a few other shots here and there. But we all know that that's how the NWA worked back in the day. That's how it works now. You come in, you do a shot, you go out, you do what you do, you come back, you do another shot, you leave. That's how that works.
Yeah, but
how
you still be able to use their,
and you can still
use their labels,
providing you have permission from now Billy Corgan. Yes, you can still use the NWA for all your bookings on all your pictures. You can still use the NWA logo, the name, the fact that you were there, because at the end of the day, the NWA is such a prestigious and lengthy legacy.
And who's the announcers now?
For NWA?
Yeah.
Tim Storm, Velvet Sky.
Velvet Sky.
Kyle Davis, Joe Galley, and there's one more I'm missing.
You said Velvet Sky. So, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. So, Velvet Sky, I know Velvet when she first started in the business. She was with, go for it.
She was with a lot of people as far as manager goes.
She was with the Beautiful People.
No, actually, even before that, she was way before that. She was actually under a different name. She wrestled for Northeast Wrestling. She wrestled for WEW out of Philly. She came in to TNA a few times before they officially signed her under a contract. So I mean, she's done quite a bit. So for her to be an NWA announcer isn't a big shock,
right?
Because again, we all know the tie-ins between TNA and the NWA, and we all know that those tie-ins were big for years. I mean, look at the length, look at the TNA guys, and I say TNA, but at the time it was the NWA TNA, or they were a territory of the NWA. Look at the guys who have signed them, who have held those titles. AJ Styles, Sonny Siaki, Jeff Jarrett, Lance Hoyt, Kid Cash,
Right.
Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, Christian Cage, Sting, Rob Van Dam, Jeff Hardy. I mean, they're the names of these titles, and that's X Division, World title, tag titles. I mean, you name it. There's been so many people that have held those titles. So for her to be in the NWA, I believe she is one of the only female announcers in the NWA.
Right.
And Tim Storm is I think a 20 or 30 year vet of
Tim
the
Storm
business.
has been around.
And he's a 2-time NWA champion. Now you have Chris Adonis that's with them. You have Mike Nux and Trevor Murdoch. You have Rodney Mack. You have Homicide, who's a former NWA junior heavyweight title. You have Kerry Morton, Colby Carino. I mean, the amount of second generation talent that came through there now. And there's one more that I think is going to show up there, because him and his father are no longer with AEW. And if you guys have been keeping up on it, and that's Brock and Arn Anderson. I think Brock would be great in the NWA, because it'll give him a chance to build that character stuff just like his father did, and I think the NWA would be a great fit for him. I don't think he should go to WWE. That's just my opinion. And that's not that they'll misuse him or they'll tarnish what he made. That's not any of that. That's just, legacy-wise, if he wants to do what his father did, he's going to go to the NWA regardless. I think the NWA now, being the way it is a better proving ground for talent.
Right.
After AEW, after WWE, after TNA, I think NWA is a great way to get your name back out there and build up and hone your craft and stuff like that. And that's coming from a fan's perspective. That's just coming from me being a guy outside looking in. I personally would love to work for the NWA. If that opportunity,
shout out to Billy Corrigan.
If that opportunity ever arose, I would take that 110%.
Hey, Billy, book the Untouchables right here against the Now.
So
the Untouchables versus the Now.
So now let's cut away from the wrestling for a little bit, because I feel like we've done a lot of that this podcast. Let's talk about cigars. Does anybody have any questions or anything about cigars, anything they want to ask? Because what I will say is this question's been posed to me quite a bit, and what's one of my most underrated brands that don't get enough love, and not because I'm smoking one, but one of the brands that a lot of people don't give enough attention to and love, that's been around for a long time, is Villiger. I feel for the new wrestlers coming to WWE should do away with brands and put. No, you're absolutely right. I think you're right. You're absolutely right, Coop. I mean, the brands are nice. Having the developmental system is great, but like if they're gonna come in, they're gonna get the sweet treatment of going to WWE first, as a lot of guys call it. Where I personally enjoy the NWA more. I enjoy TNA more. I think just based on not even the legacy, just the way they operate. They don't operate like a machine. You're not another cog. You're there to show people what you can do.
Well,
hold on. When you cut a cigar, is it better to cut or poke it? I mean, you can do either one. I know there is a tool that I do have. I just don't have it handy.
Actually, I think I have one.
That I do use, that a good friend of mine has, that he came up with himself. It's called the Select Draw tool. I'm sure Coop has heard about it. I don't have it handy with me. I think it's in my my other case. I think it's right there. No, I think it's right there. But while he's getting that, you can use the select draw tool. I know where it is. It's right there. See the bag from here. But you have so many different cuts. You have straight cut. You have a V cut. You have a crown cut, which is 2 Vs. And then this is what I use to poke as they. Oh, is there one at Honjo's? Okay. So the guy that makes that coupe is a very good friend of mine.
This is the select draw. Okay.
Which I will say, stay tuned for that interview because that's going to happen.
Coming on our podcast. So what you do with this, I'm going to show you what you're going to do. So
you want me to show them so I can get closer?
I got it. So you take this, right? There's 3 cuts. Okay. So you take it.
When you're having a tough draw or just to enhance your drawing experience.
And then you go like this. And then you go like this. And then you just go like this.
Well, it's not lit, but
it's not lit, but
ow. And it is a little sharp, just so you know. I think you were thinking of the perfect draw tool. But so I'll show you with it lit. So you go like this. That's usually what I do. I do this. I poke holes all around the cut. And then you can go this way with it. Bang. And then you can go right around the cap like that. And the draw becomes effortless.
So on that note, we are live here with Turbuvkles and Stogies with Boss Dog Cigars, a.k.a. Big Dog, my man, the Vanilla Garrila. We're going to pay some bills. Yo, H, do me a favor. Slam them chairs, baby.
So,
this message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. For TSAs on the best services available to veterans, go to VA's new radio outreach page, news.va.gov/outreach/radio.
Tonight.
That's good.
Remember last time he said he got his ass kicked? Mm-hmm. So we are back, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, so this is a good friend of mine. He makes this. Shout out to Mark. Shout out to Select Draw. That interview will be coming soon because there's a lot we got to talk about because he's got a lot of big things happening, you know. So let me get back to the cigars because as we all know that's another thing that besides wrestling that I love. Yeah, there's so many different ways you can cut because I'm going back to the question that was asked. And when you cut a cigar, it's not really it's a matter of personal preference. And that's a matter of personal preference, and so is ring gauge of a cigar. And again, I've been known to smoke a lot of very large ring gauge. I've smoked 110. I've smoked 90, 80, 70. I think I might have even smoked 100 in there. There's so many different things that I've smoked. There's so many new ones coming out that I want to smoke.
So, son, let's ask this question. So, how old are you now?
25, going to be 26.
So, when did you start smoking cigars?
When I was 18, so almost, actually, March will be 8 years.
Okay, so, for all y'all that don't know, we live down the street from Stogies. God bless him. But he wanted to come and smoke a cigar with us, right? So I brought him to the shop. I made him check with the wife. The wife said, yeah, you can go smoke a cigar. So when we got to the shop, I, being the dick that I am. So I said to him, I said, "You want to smoke?" He goes, "Yeah." What was the first cigar I gave you?
An Acid Blondie by Drew Estate.
And how did you like that cigar?
I wasn't a fan of it. Now, that's not saying that that's a bad cigar. I didn't like it. I never liked the taste of it. I still don't till this day. And it's not a
What
knock
does it
on
taste
the
like?
I'm not really sure what to call it. It's not
Potpourri?
I don't know. I don't know what I would call it. And that's not shitting on them. That's not for me. Their acid line really isn't for me, unfortunately. But the rest of their lines I have had nothing but enjoyment with. So, the Undercrown line, the Liga line, the Nika Rustica line, the Deadwood line.
So when they did their last year, what was it, the 20th anniversary?
So last year was their 25th anniversary, their DE 25.
Okay. So last year was their 25th anniversary, right? So we go there, we go to the barn smoker, and we get a cigar. Now, I'm not a big fan of acid. I don't like acid, and I already told Jonathan this. I don't like acid cigars.
But that doesn't mean the next person won't like it.
Correct. So I take his acid 25th anniversary.
Oh, the acid was actually 20th, but it was the Drew Estate 25th anniversary party.
Oh, my goodness. That was the worst cigar I ever smoked.
I will say that 20th, I did try it because I got two of them. We got one in our bag and one that they handed out at one of the booths with the ticket.
One of the boobs?
The booths.
Boobs. He said boobs.
And I smoked the first one just to try it. It had a bit of a sweet taste, which I did like the sweet cap.
The sweet cap was good.
But it to me was not my favorite. Now, I've heard the Acid 20th anniversary Maduro is better. I haven't had that yet. I don't know if I will personally. If it's given to me, I'd probably smoke it. I probably won't go out of my way to buy it because I'm just not an Acid fan. Now, what I will say is we'll go back to the underrated brand of Villiger because I think that's a brand that doesn't get enough love. And, that brand doesn't get enough love, whether it's through 20th was a unique sweet. It was. No, you're absolutely right, Coop. It was a unique sweetness, which was great. I'll go to Rosario's if I want that. Absolutely. You're 100% right. But what I will say is this brand of the unique aromas that's made by Villiger is, and this episode isn't sponsored by them by any means.
By nobody.
Villiger, I will say, is one of those, and that I answered that same question for both of us. That the 20th had a unique sweetness but if we want it, we'll go to Rosario's.
Yes.
If we want something to that effect.
If you want something to that effect, you go to Rosario's
on Gun Hill.
On Gun Hill Road and Penny Lane in the Bronx. And shout out to Rosario's. But here's my thing. Now let's get back to some sports. So the Giants game against the Jets, I'll tell you, that wasn't a big game. But needless to say, so we are going to, right now, we're going to tell you that I am going to have on, and Joey will tell you, we're going to have on, it's not my fault.
Which, again, is a hard person to get on because of his dates that he has scheduled. We are working on that. I'm also working on I'm working on a couple of, I'm working on a a few different wrestlers as we speak. I've been in talks with them. I've been in talks with Drew Estates DJ, my man Eli, Smoking E. And if you haven't checked out his podcast, him and his wife have a podcast as well.
What is it called?
I
didn't
actually
even see that.
I will get you the correct name so that you guys can go view it, because
I've not even seen that.
I will get you the correct name right now.
He never told me that.
Well, I found out through his own page that he has, and I found out. So it's called Bonafide BS.
Bonafide.
Yep. So episode 47.
Bonafide.
Episode 47 just dropped. So as you guys can see, I want to make sure you guys can see the name. Shout out to my man E and his wife. They're doing good things over there. I listen to this podcast. It's absolutely great. It's hilarious. They'll make you laugh. They make you laugh. They talk about real life situations. It's great. I enjoy it. So we're working on getting him on here. There's so many things that we have in the works. What you guys don't see on the screen is all of our work behind the scenes.
So I want to give a big shout out to NBR Radio and our producer H for taking care of this. He's got a lot going on in his personal life.
So let's just thank him for taking care of us and putting up with our bullshit.
Yes.
And our bit of assholeness when we need to be.
And
but
H,
he knows we love him.
H.
He knows we appreciate everything he does,
put it in the comments, H.
Because I learned some of the stuff he does behind the scenes.
Asshole, H.
I've learned some of the stuff he does behind the scenes, and what you guys don't see behind the scenes, what I didn't see until I learned, was a lot. So, when you guys don't see it go up right away, it doesn't hit Spotify instantly. That's because there's a lot of work behind the scenes that goes into this. And he's got to do that, plus however many other shows we have on this network, and then he's got to put up with our bullshit.
And
which makes him a saint to put up with our bullshit.
Coop will tell you,
because we can be a bunch of rowdy assholes.
Coop will tell you,
and demanding.
Coop will tell you, I am an asshole.
And we all know you're an asshole. That's a proven fact.
I'm an asshole. So Coop in the comments will tell you, listen, H, I love you, brother.
He's an asshole, but he's a lovable asshole.
I'm a lovable asshole.
You're yelling. He said you're yelling.
Sorry, Coop.
You're yelling. Again. You're yelling.
One demerit.
You're yelling. No yelling. No yelling. You're yelling.
I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, for y'all that don't know,
there we go.
It's a personal joke between myself, my son, and Mr. Coop himself. When I yell, he gets upset. Okay? So, fuck you!
Hey, no yelling. You're going to wake the other people up in the house. Shut the fuck up.
No, but we want to give out that, without NBR Radio, without H, there's none of this right here.
Or
there's
at
no
least
Vanilla Garrila. There's no Boss Dog.
There was a Vanilla Garrila.
Right.
But
there's no
turnbuckles and stogies the way you see it now. There's no turnbuckles and stogies the way you're looking at it, the way you're listening to us and watching us. Because to be quite honest with you, I would have never known how to do this. I would have never known how to get it, produced and add all those sounds and everything that you hear behind the scenes. And I will say, big shout out, because I was listening to their podcast the other night. I spoke to them. Big shout out to my man Chief and Bob the Cigar Guy. They tuned in last week. They said we did a hell of a job.
What do you mean?
They went live the other night, and I was in the comments talking to them. They shouted out our podcast. So shout out to those guys. We love those guys.
What do you mean Bob, the cigar guy. Huh.
Yeah.
So is that the guy? Is that the guy that we were hanging out with at like
That's
6 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
That calls me Pez.
Yeah. Actually, he told me to tell Pez that he says hello.
So hold on. Pez, he says hello.
But yeah, no, if you
Bob the
guys
cigar guy, make sure you follow them.
go check them out.
The Chief
Talk
the
is
cigar
Chief
guy.
Talk, I believe, is every Tuesday, and Bob the cigar guy and the Chief show is every, I think, Thursday. They go live twice a week. Plus, you can check out the Chavetta Report. You can check out Bob the cigar guy cigar reviews.
Did you see when he did Little Debbie's review?
Yes, I did see that. You can go check that out on his Facebook page, on their Facebook page.
His Little Debbie cake.
And I mean, if you can follow him, please follow him because he's just absolutely entertaining as all hell.
So on that note, we're gonna pay some bills. Check us out. Ring that bell, baby.
So what I will say, guys, is we're gonna get ready to wrap it up here, you know, because we are actually we hit that mark where I think we're gonna leave you guys for this week. So for Turnbuckles and Stogies, this has been another episode with the Vanilla Garrila and the Big Dog here at Turnbuckles and Stogies. Tune in to see what we do next week because we will be live on Sunday, and I will schedule it ahead of time so that everybody can see the time we go live. But we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thanks for chiming in the comments. It's been fun, as always. Peace.
So I got one more thing to say. So make sure you check us out on every
streaming platform you can think of for Spotify.
So
Spotify, iTunes, everywhere. We're everywhere. Search us up.
As we do in the wrestling world. And as we do, deuces, gotta go. See you later. Peace.
That's the show for today, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with an all-new show. And remember, you can listen to us again and again. The podcast of this radio show is available right after we go off the air tonight, anywhere that you can get your podcasts.